First, we'll have Jeff Fletcher.
Afternoon, folks. Thank you for your appearance here, and I can speak on my behalf and the other candidates. We are glad this is about to be over. It's tiring, it's painful, and it's grueling. I am your district judge. I'm very proud to be your district judge. Very proud of what we've accomplished since I've become your district judge. A lot of important things happen on the third floor. Since I took office, we've been open and inviting to have people come up and see what happens there, because a lot of the things that shape our county occur on the third floor. We are your servants, just like the other candidates. It's a public service, and you have a right to know what happens up there. We have increased the number of jury trials about 60% over the last administration. I think we've had 43 jury trials in the last 3 years. We've increased the number of criminal cases by quite a bit as well. We had 495 pending felony cases when I took office. We have just above 200 now. It fluctuates just a little bit depending on the indictments for a particular month. It's not because of me, it's because of a team effort, it's because of hard work for a lot of people in the courthouse. I'm very proud of what I've been able to do as your district judge. I'm very proud of the fact that out of hundreds of district judges in the state, I'm one of 13 that serve on the board of directors for the Texas Center for the Judiciary. We're responsible for creating curriculum and continuing education for all the judges in the state. And I'm very proud to be a part of that. The office and the court's running more efficiently than it has in many, many years. We are committed to providing everyone that comes in court due process, the right to be heard. But I can assure you that part of my judicial thought is, in criminal cases, is to make sure that people have an opportunity to redeem themselves, but you only get one chance. This morning we had some folks on the docket this morning regarding probation cases and revocation cases. There was a gentleman that came in that obviously had a drug problem. That's basically what we see in court. And rather than send him to the penitentiary, we diverted him and sent him to the substance abuse felony punishment program for a year, hopefully to try to dry him out, because we will try to modify behavior. The easiest thing I can do is send somebody to the penitentiary that breaks the law. That's easy. It's a stroke of a pen. It's much more difficult to try to work with things and try to change and modify behavior so we don't have to deal with these people anymore. That's what we're trying to do.
I have a question. If you're re-elected, would you change anything about the way your office operates in Wood County?
A few minor changes. Basically, it's running like I want it to. We're going to very quickly change some of the things, because most of the things that we deal with in court are family law or criminal law related. There are civil cases they come through, but they're the vast minority of what we do there. I'm going to remove about 4 or 5 what we call civil weeks for jury cases, so we can get more criminal cases tried. That puts us on track to be able to try maybe 24, 25 criminal jury trials between now and the end of the year. But for the most part, that's one of the things that I would change. Everything else is running about as smooth as I could imagine at this point. It's a giant machine that requires the efforts of a lot of people to work together, because it takes all of us to make it work.
What criteria should be used to determine performance of your office?
Well, the Office of Court Administration grades our papers, that and the 6th District Court of Appeals and the 12th District Court of Appeals. And the OCA provides us numbers about efficiency. Before I took office, we were running about 95% efficiency. What that means is we're getting rid of or resolving about 95% of the cases that were filed in district court, criminal cases. Now, first year we were a little over 103%, which means we're taking care of all the things that are being filed, plus 3% of the backlog. And the next year we were up around 113%. We're still up over 100% today. It's not as high as I want it to be. We ran into some problems with the DA's office back, as you're all familiar, which slowed us down a little bit, but we're back on track, I think, to step around 110, 115% efficiency in criminal court.
What skills does it take to operate a district court?
Patience. A district judge should be discerning and patient and be willing to make decisions that aren't really popular. It's a hard thing to do at times. And it's a very humbling experience because, especially in family law cases, you're dealing with what to do with children, what to do with parents, what to do with access to children. This week we had 2 cases on Tuesday that involved me having to decide what the best interest of a child was in 2 really difficult cases, one of which we had to shut off visitation from a father. The other we had to shut off visitation for a mother. Those are really difficult situations and things that make you stay up at night thinking about. I'm very proud of learning to be better at that. It's a hard thing to learn to do because it's not something that comes naturally. But I've not made one decision based on politics, not one decision based on anything but what I thought was the very best thing for whoever's involved and whoever came before the court, and I never will.
Thank you. Is Brad McCampbell.
I want to thank the Mineola Chamber of Commerce for the invitation. My name is J. Brad McCampbell. Some of you may have heard of a lawyer here in town by the name of Brad Campbell. I just want everybody to know that's not me. Interesting name recognition, similarity. I've been practicing law for 35 years. My office has been in Emory for those 35 years. The last 16 years, my wife and I, Dawn, have lived in Yannis. So I'm a Wood County resident. Wood County is our home. In that 35-year span, I have engaged in the general practice of law. That means I've done a little bit of everything that can be done in the courts, in district court, county courts in the area, including Wood County. I started handling cases in Wood County in 1984. I think one of my first cases in Wood County was a divorce case. In addition to the practice of law, I'm a part owner in Wood County Title Company here in Mineola, located on Pacific Street. And for the last 3 years, I've been on the board at Grace Community Healthcare Ministry, here also located on Pacific Street. And I'm very honored to be a board member of that worthy organization. Because of my experience in the practice of law, in the general practice of law, I think that will serve me well on the bench. I've handled many, many criminal cases, all the way from murder trials all the way to, I think one of my very first jury trials was a speeding ticket, if you believe that. So I've run the gamut. I've also handled many, many family law cases, and unfortunately, that's a lot of what's in district court. You see divorces, you see child custody cases, and as the judge mentioned, they're very emotional, very emotional. So as a judge, you've got to learn how to deal with that and to be able to treat the litigants with respect and courtesy and patience, but also be stern at times when it calls for it. So in addition to criminal law and family law, I've handled many other types of civil cases that are filed in district court, whether it be will contest, real estate title disputes, personal injuries, wrongful deaths, things of that nature. So I think that has served me well and will help to reduce the learning curve when I get on the bench because of my experience. I hope everybody gets out and votes. I hope everybody votes for me, J. Brad McCampbell. Thank you.
Anything about the way this office operates in the town?
Well, one of the things that I would want to look at, because it's been a time-age problem, that how do you dispose of so many cases in district court? And so what you want to do is you want to see what kind of schedules you need to engage in, whether it be criminal or civil, try to get a proper mix of both. But the state kind of tells us some of the priorities of cases to dispose of, and number one those criminal cases where the defendants are in jail. Those are a priority, and so you have to kind of look at that. Then you have to figure out about cases concerning children. That's a priority. To try to do what's best for the children in a timely manner, efficient manner. And then everything else kind of flows from there, but you just do the best you can to be able to dispose timely and efficiently of the cases. Also, if I'm elected judge, I'm going to concentrate on doing my job as judge. All the other elected officials need to concentrate on doing their job. And if everybody does their jobs, then I think, in effect, that's working together to try to make it run smoothly.
What criteria should be used to determine performance of this office?
Well, the judge has mentioned several. Also, judges are bound by the judicial canons. It's a set of regulations and rules that tell judges how they can act and how they can't act. So in addition to being observed by the appellate courts, our conduct is also observed by the Commission on Judicial Conduct. And that is a very important organization, and I have extreme pride and so forth in the judiciary. I think it's a great thing. That's why I want to be a judge. I want to make a difference. I want to do something besides wearing the lawyer hat. I want to wear the judge hat. I think it's great to be able to sit and judge people fairly and impartially, and I think doing all of that is important to the court.
Do you have any closing statements?
When I was sworn in as a lawyer in 1984, I took an oath to support and comply with the U.S. Constitution and the state constitution. And I feel like that in my practice, I have done that. I feel like I have been professional in my practice. I've practiced with honesty and integrity, with commitment to my clients, and that would be no different if I'm on the court. Again, I would be swearing to comply with and abide by the Constitution of the United States and the state of Texas, and to decide fairly and impartially the cases that come before the court. And so I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Folks, if it works, don't fix it. That's an adage we've all heard. The 402nd District Court is working very well. I'm very proud of where we are and where we're going. But something I wanted to touch base on, as many of you know, if you've kept up with any social media or any media at all, it's been really nasty for lots of folks, myself included. And I don't understand why, because it's really counterproductive. It's embarrassing for the county. It's just not who we are. I have done my best to stay above the fray, and I'm going to continue to stay above the fray, but you need to know what's going on and who you're dealing with. If you've seen the paper today, there's a personal attack on me about me being divorced, about me being a fraud, about Judge Robin Sage saying I was a fraud, annulled a marriage. It's just absolutely not true. I talked to Judge Sage this morning. You'll be hearing more about this in the coming days. I've actually got an email that I don't know if Mr. McCampbell's received yet, but I'm going to read it to you. Because, as I mentioned earlier, it's important to be discerning as a judge, not make statements before you have an opportunity to make sure that what you're saying is correct. This is from Rick Freeman, who actually represented me in the divorce. And folks, everybody wants to be married forever when they get married. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. It just doesn't. It may not be the fault of whoever's getting divorced. Another reason to be careful. Brad, the last part of this ad is circled is absolutely false. Turn that off, please. This annulment was agreed to as part of a mediated settlement agreement without any findings at all. This was agreed to because for some reason Mrs. Fletcher wanted an annulment based on her religious beliefs. There was never any contested hearing where any finding of fraud was made by Judge Sage based on any evidence. Judge Sage merely accepted and approved the parties' agreement. There was never any discovery where there was any fraud admitted to, and never anything found. I've always respected you personally and professionally, but you may want to consider a retraction as to this.
Thank you, everyone, for coming, and I would like to thank our candidates for being here, and I'll exercise your right to vote. You can go speak to them.
I'd like to respond to my